Hello, I'm back. Mrs. Ferguson tried to stop him, so did the others, but Michael broke free of them and waded out as far into the river as he could until he was as near as he could get. "You've got to swim," he cried. "You've got to. Go under the bridge and keep going. You can do it. Don't turn round. Don't come back. Please don't come back." There were people and boats everywhere, bustle and ballyhoo all around, so much of it that Michael could barely hear the whale when he spoke. "I'm trying," he said. "I'm trying so hard, but I'm very tired now, and I don't seem to know where I'm going. I'm feeling muddled in my head, and I'm so tired. I just want to sleep. I'm afraid that maybe I stayed too long. Grandfather warned me. They all warned me." His eyes closed. He seemed almost too exhausted to say anything more. Then his eyes opened again. "Do you remember everything I said?" he whispered. "Of course I do. I'll never forget." Then it was worth it. No matter what happens, it was worth it. "Stay with me if you can. I need you with me." So Michael stayed. He stayed all that day, and Mrs. Ferguson stayed with him long after all the other children had gone back home. By late afternoon, his mother was there with them. They got a message to her at work, and the white egret stayed too, watching everything from his boy. As evening came on, they tried to make Michael go home for a sleep. "There's nothing more you can do," his mother told him, "and anyway you can watch it on the TV. You can't stay here all night. You'll catch your death. Come on, we'll get a pizza on the way. What do you say?" Michael stayed crouching down. He wasn't moving. "I'll tell you what, Michael," Mrs. Ferguson said. "I'll stay. You go home and get some rest, and then you can come back in the morning. I won't leave him, honestly, I won't. And I'll phone if anything happens. How's that?" Between them, they managed to persuade Michael, who knew everything they said was true. He was tired and cold and hungry, so in the end he agreed, just as long as they could come back in the morning, as soon as it got light. "I won't be long," he whispered to the whale. "I'll be back soon, I promise." Back at home in a hot bath, he shivered the cold out of him, and all the while he was thinking only of his whale. He ate his pizza watching his whale on the TV. He knew he couldn't go to bed. He didn't want to sleep. He wanted only one thing, to be back down by the riverside with his whale. He begged his mother again and again to let him go, but she wouldn't. He had to get some sleep. There was only one thing for it. He would wait till his mother had gone to bed, and then he'd get dressed and slip out the flat. That's what he did. He ran all the way back down to the river. All the rescue team and the divers were still there. So was Mrs. Ferguson, sitting by the wall now, wrapped in a blanket. And everywhere there were still dozens of onlookers. The egret was there on his boy, and the whale was floundering near the shore, not far from where Michael had left him. But there was something else on the river. It looked like a barge of some kind, and it hadn't been there before. Michael was sure of it. He ran over to Mrs. Ferguson. "Miss, what's that barge there for?" he asked. "What's going on?" "They're going to have to lift him, Michael," she said. "They had a meeting, and they decided it's the only way they can save him. They don't think he can do it on his own. He's too weak and disorientated, so they're going to lift him onto that barge and carry him out to the sea." "They can't. They'll kill him if they do. He can't live out of the water, he told me. He's my whale. I found him. They can't. I won't let them." Michael didn't hesitate. He dashed down to the shore and waded out into the river. When he found he couldn't wade any more, he began to swim. A few short strokes, and he was alongside the whale. He could hear Mrs. Ferguson and the others shouting to him to come back. He paid them no attention. The whale looked at him out of his deep dark eye. "I need you with me," he whispered. "I know. I'm back," Michael said. "Are you listening? Can you hear me?" "I hear you," replied the whale. "I'm going to swim with you," Michael told him. "I'm a really good swimmer. We're going together. You just have to follow me. Can you do it?" "I'll try," said the whale. From the bank they all saw it. Michael and the whale swimming away side by side towards Battersea Bridge. They could hardly believe their eyes. They could see the whale was finding it hard, puffing and blowing as he went, that Michael was battling against the tide, but incredibly they were both making some headway. By now the rescue team had sent out an inflatable to fetch Michael in. Everyone could see what was bound to happen in the end, that the tide was against them, that it was too cold, that it was impossible. Both the boy and the whale tired together. They hauled Michael out of the water and brought him back to the shore. From there he had to watch his whale swim bravely on for a few minutes before he had to give up as well. Even Michael knew there was nothing else he could do. that the barge was the whale's only chance of survival. Michael was there on the shore with his mother and Mrs. Ferguson later that morning when they hoisted the whale slowly from the water and swung him out on a great sling onto the barge that would take him off to the sea. With the world watching on TV, followed by a procession of small boats, the barge carried him along the river, under the bridges, past Westminster and the London Eye and St Paul's, out towards Greenwich and the Thames Barrier into the sea beyond. There was a vet on hand to monitor his progress all the way, and Michael, too, never left the whale's side, not for one moment. He stayed by him, pouring water over him from time to time to keep his skin moist, soothing him and talking to him to reassure him, to keep his spirits up, all the while hoping against hope that the whale would have the strength to survive long enough to reach the open sea. Michael didn't have to ask. He could see the vet was not optimistic. He could see his whale was failing fast. His eyes were closed and he had settled into a really deep sleep. He was breathing, but only just. Michael thought he could hear him breathe just one more word. Promise, he said. I promise, Michael replied. He knew exactly what he was promising, that he would spend his whole life keeping it, and then the whale simply stopped breathing. Michael felt suddenly very alone. The vet was examining him. After a while, he looked up, wiping the tears from his face. Why? He asked. I don't understand. Why did he come? That's what I'd like to know. Ahead of them, as they came back into the heart of London, flew a single white bird. It was the snowy egret that had never left the whole way out and the whole way back. All London seemed still with sadness as they passed by under Tower Bridge. And it tells you here a little bit about where he got the idea for this story from. On the 20th of January 2006, an 18-foot, that's about 5 metres, northern bottlenosed whale was spotted swimming up the Thames past the Houses of Parliament. She swam up as far as Battersea Bridge, where she became stranded. For 2 days, rescuers battled to save the whale as the world looked on, hoping for the best. But in spite of everyone's efforts, that whale died before the rescue pontoon on which she was being transported could reach the safety of the open sea. Well, it's a very sad ending, but it was a very good story. And what I'd like you to do is use your amazing imaginations and do a few things. First of all, you can pick a bit from that story that you'd like to illustrate, beautifully illustrate, because remember, Michael Morpurgo paints really lovely pictures with the words, but there are no pictures in the book, so we need you to create those pictures. So pick your favourite scene. The second thing you could do is you could think about why the whale came. So what was it that the whale wants Michael and perhaps everyone else to do? So maybe you'd like to write perhaps a letter. Imagine a letter that the whale would have written if it could have written to Michael, or perhaps you'd like to write down a list of ideas, or make a poster about how we could try and change things. So what is it that the whale needs us to do? And the other thing you can do is, if you want, is you can imagine that you were involved in something like this. Because it started off where people didn't believe him, and then they made fun of him, and then they realised that actually he had been telling the truth. So perhaps you can imagine something. If you had something that you could be part of, what would that adventure be? Would you be wanting to save things? Would it be something that is something you've only dreamt of? You could write yourself a little imaginative story. Listen, lots of love. See you soon. I'll post a new story next week, if not before. Okay, bye.